Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. My name is Michelle Fondin and I'm the author of 2 books. Again, I'm going to introduce 2 books each time. Chakra Healing for Vibrant Energy, exploring your 7 energy centers with mindfulness, yoga, and Ayurveda. And Help, I Think My Loved One is an Alcoholic, a survival guide for lovers, family, and friends. And we are on this journey of the twin flame connection and the twin flame union, which sometimes can be so incredibly maddening, so incredibly joyful, so incredibly emotional, and confusing. It can be really confusing. As we're healing, transforming, growing, becoming more spiritual, more open, more loving, kind, forgiving, unconditionally loving as people, we can be faced with so many questions. And labels are crazy because we are used to a lot of psychobabble. Since we're used to so much psychobabble, we have all of these labels. We have all of these these crazy ideas of how things are, how they should be. We need to fit everything into a box. We need to fit everything into an explanation. We need to fit everything into a category. And I will tell you right now that if you're stuck on trying to figure out categories and boxes and definitions and fitting people and situations and relationships and aspects into these tightly fit boxes, that goes 100,000% against spirituality. Okay? The planet Neptune in astrology represents the ocean, if you will. It represents the boundless, right? It's that which has no boundaries. So we're talking about pure potential, infinite consciousness, expansiveness, the realm of all possibilities. So as you are moving more into spirituality, you are moving into the boundless. You are moving into the realm of pure potential and infinite possibilities. So as you are moving from being very regimented in our human existence into the boundless, it can be really easy to want to grasp really tightly onto concepts we know. You want to grasp a hold of these definitions and concepts and be like, no. Like, I have to put some boundaries on this and I have to put some boxes around this and that has to make total sense to me. I have to have everything well defined. Otherwise, it makes no sense. And some of us are like that, just naturally. And some of us, we're more open to eternal concepts that are open and more airy-fairy and free-flowing. So through your beautiful comments, questions, and concerns came about something about the definitions of relationships and the parameters of relationships and what is happening in this section of people who are awakening to something called the twin flame connection, which can be really, like I said, confusing because the whole entire concept of twin flames is a Neptunian concept. It's as wide and as vast as the ocean. It's boundless. So because it's Neptunian in nature, those who strive to be more earthbound in explanations have a really difficult time with it because they want to fit the twin flame journey into a box. And since it doesn't fit into a box, it can be super frustrating for them to understand. So that being said, I'm going to present 3 concepts to help you truly understand the twin flame connection and exactly what it means and how to go about in the boundless, defineless instances how to really grasp whether or not you're on the right path. In the last video on the 7 signs to whether or not union is near, and I think it was more 7 signs to the fact that union is near, I mentioned that one of the ways you're going to know that union is near is the death of the ego, that you are becoming integrated with your divine masculine or your divine feminine, and that the death of the ego simply means that the ego is not ruling the roost anymore, that the ego is subservient to your higher self or your spirit. So in the ego death, when your ego is trying and grasping so hard, not wanting to be subservient to the spirit, a lot of stuff can happen in your head that makes you believe that the twin flame connection is something bad. Anything that is written in your soul and in your heart cannot be bad, because it was orchestrated and originated by the Creator himself. And God does not make mistakes. Let's put it that way. God makes no mistakes. It is no mistake that you're a twin flame. It is no mistake that you have a divine masculine or a divine feminine. It is no mistake that you are destined to be with your twin flame, whether now in this lifetime or in another lifetime, or in all probability, you will be together with them in the next several months to a year. It's no mistake. So don't mistake your ego not trying to let go with, I really don't think this connection is real or healthy or divinely orchestrated, because it is. If you're truly a twin flame, it is. The first concept is so misunderstood. And the concept that I'm going to start with is codependency. So codependency can be defined as a relationship where the ego does rule the roost, but it is two people in a relationship that depend on each other unhealthfully. So the typical codependent relationship, if we were to take a classic example from, the book that I wrote, Help, I Think My Loved One is an Alcoholic, is being in a relationship with someone who is in addiction. So whether they are addicted to alcohol or drugs or other forms of addictive substances, alcohol and drugs seem to be the most potent and the most harmful. When you are in that type of codependent relationship, it is that person who is tied to the drug or the alcohol, or both oftentimes. And you, as someone who loves this person, and you can love them genuinely, but your behavior, because the ego is ruling the roost, is unhealthy. Now, some of the behaviors that happen are like you putting conditions on that relationship, or you enabling that person, or that person threatening you and saying, if you don't buy me alcohol, I'm not going to love you anymore. And then you going to buy the alcohol just to be loved by them. Or that person being verbally abusive or physically abusive, and you being verbally abusive back to them. Or getting out of the relationship only to realize that you are so dependent on that relationship that you need to get back into that relationship. Or someone who is in a verbally abusive relationship or an emotionally abusive relationship, as an example, and they are mistaking verbal abuse, then loving words, then verbal abuse again, to be a loving relationship. Because there's love sprinkled in there, those who are codependent have a really hard time understanding the difference. Or being in a relationship where it's based all on conditions. So basically, I am not going to love you unless if you bring me flowers every week, or I'm not going to stay with you unless if you're the financial provider, right? Or I'm not going to give you sex unless you take care of the children too. So that's all codependency. So here's how I'm going to define codependency. How do you know a relationship is codependent? I say by the fruits of the labors. Okay? If the fruits of the labors of the relationship are leaving you with guilt, shame, blame, anger, sadness, and loneliness all together, then that is codependent. Okay, so the fruits of the labors, meaning the fruits of the relationship, are going to leave you with shame, guilt, blame, anger, sadness, loneliness, usually depression. Okay, at some point in the relationship or oscillating points in the relationship. It's usually happening in cyclical waves. The relationship is really good for a couple of weeks, and then it starts to spiral into those conditions. And when it spirals into those conditions, all the actions of both parties leave all of those symptoms of shame, blame, guilt, anger, sadness, loneliness, depression. And then the upswing again is, oh, this is great, everything's cool. And then it's cyclical back down. Okay, so that's codependency. Interdependency is something that we all need because we are all human. And this is where people get caught up in the psychobabble mumbo jumbo of their ego saying, I don't need anybody, I just got myself, right? I don't need anyone. I don't need a man in my life, right? And I don't know why I just went into that southern accent. I'm just moved from Virginia, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I'm just being silly. Interdependency is something we all need because we're social animals, right? We're not living in isolation. We are totally not living in isolation. Even the man who lives in a cabin in the woods in Colorado, who kills his own food and eats it, is still interdependent on our government to keep the country peaceful enough not to have war and not have it annexed and taken over by another country, right? He's still dependent on the Environmental Protection Agency for the good or for the bad to keep the air clean enough to breathe, which that's always debatable. So interdependency is the fact that we all need each other in order to live here. We all rely on each other in order to live here. There's no way we could be separate from each other while we are alive. Okay? So that's interdependency. We all need each other. We all need each other in some way, shape, or form. That's healthy. We all need each other. We are not isolated beings. We are interdependent on each other. Now let's move over to the twin flame connection and the soul connection that you have with your twin flame and vice versa. At first glance, because there's this really, really, really unrelenting strong connection with your twin flame, it can seem like a codependent connection. It can seem that way. It can seem like I love this person so much, I can't live without them. That can seem codependent at first glance. So we're just, taking that glance because our brains want to wrap concepts into a box. It can seem that way. But when you look at it much deeper, when you look at the soul purpose and the soul connection and the heart connection and the magnetic pull to your divine masculine or your divine feminine twin flame, you realize that the fruits of the labor that are happening are to better you as a person and to better your twin flame as a person. So that all the turmoil, all the doubt, all the work that you go through and that you integrate and that you heal during the twin flame journey are designed to help you be a better person. And they're designed to help your twin flame be a better person. And if you are both better people because of the connection, then you need to look at the fruits of the labor of that connection, which are positive. The fruits of the labor are positive, meaning that throughout this process and journey, you're becoming more spiritually enlightened. You're becoming more forgiving, kind, loving, compassionate, all-knowing, right? You're becoming closer to God. So as you approach God, you begin to take on the qualities of God. So as you take on the qualities of God, your twin flame, who you are divinely connected to, takes on the qualities of God. As your divine masculine or feminine takes on the qualities of God, you as a couple, as a pair of people, are only ascended higher into God consciousness. And as you're ascended higher into God consciousness, the all-pervasive knowing and love that starts to seep out through you and onto the planet is only for the betterment of the planet. So yes, if our human minds want to wrap our brains around the twin flame connection and how close it is, and how connected it is, and how conjoined it is, if you're trying to put an ego label and slap it on top of it without looking at the fruits of the labors, it could appear on the surface to be a codependent relationship. But when you look at the fruits of the labors of a twin flame connection, you most certainly will see that there is no way that that connection is codependent, because the fruits are way too powerful and high in vibration to ever be considered to be something that has such low vibration. So I hope that this clarified it for you. I hope that you truly, truly understand the vast differences in what an unhealthy relationship looks like and what a healthy relationship looks like when you're looking at it from a twin flame perspective. Now, that doesn't mean, please don't misconstrue this to mean that there are not other relationships that are healthy as well that may not be twin flame relationships. There are certainly healthy relationships out there that are not twin flame relationships. I've seen it. If you're viewing this video, it's because you're a twin flame or you know someone who's a twin flame, and you might be really confused, and you might be genuinely concerned about your friend who's a twin flame, and you might just think that they're just obsessed with this person and they're going a little bit crazy. So I assure you they're not going crazy. It is real. It's actually something that's real. But now you guys know the difference. Look at the overall general fruits of the labors in a relationship and see what the outcome is. The outcome will define the healthfulness of the connection. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Please hit the bell for notifications. Share this video with other twin flames. And thank you for buying a book or pledging your support on Patreon. www.patreon.com/Michelle S. Fondin. And I will see you in the next video.